All right. So we're on to week 4. So last night, Monday Night Football, uh, Ravens, Chiefs. I don't know what the hell that was. As I said in my previous videos, I was expecting the Ravens to definitely put up a better fight. What we'd seen from the Chiefs so far hadn't quite been the Chiefs we were used to seeing, and the Ravens had been dominant. Well, that seemed to reverse itself last night. We had the Ravens. Their defense kind of started out pretty weak. Um, you know, they let the Chiefs get a kind of take advantage of them there in the first half, but then in the second half, they really did get their stuff together. I think they forced a turnover. For a long time, the Chiefs were kind of stalled out at 27, and the Ravens actually had a chance. It was 27-20 at one point, and the Ravens DU was playing well enough to get them back in the game, but they continued to give up big plays. Deep shots to Mecole Hardman, and pretty tough to stop Mahomes when he's doing that. He was definitely on his A game. That was the Mahomes we were expecting, all to see all this season. That's what we're used to seeing from him, last 2 years. So, unfortunate timing for them to decide that prime time Monday night was the game where they wanted to show up. The defense, too, decided to play out of their minds. That was kind of the defense. Chiefs defense is weird in that, they're not that scary. And then in the playoffs last year, I felt like all of a sudden they were playing really, really well. And that's kind of what I saw last night, too. I don't think personnel-wise you can expect these kind of performances, but sometimes they do it. It's like they kind of play up in these big moments, which I guess is a nice thing to have if you're a Chiefs fan. Let's see. Yeah, the only other thing I guess is Lamar Jackson just does not really have the arm talent, and I've kind of always thought this about Lamar Jackson is, when they're playing, the Baltimore roster is put together solidly enough that most quarterbacks would do pretty well in that situation. Throw Matt Ryan on Baltimore, throw Kirk Cousins on Baltimore, Goff on Baltimore, Josh Allen on Baltimore, Tom Brady on Baltimore. I think they would win a lot of games. Probably just as many games as Lamar wins. But they would do it in a different manner. They do it more with their arm. And meanwhile, we got Lamar, who, when he's running, it's amazing. I'm not going to deny that he is something special when he's running with the football. But his arm, if they're not a threat on the ground to open up the passing for him, his arm talent is bottom tier. So I think I saw a stat. He's 0-4 when down by double digits, which doesn't happen often, but I think that's really the formula to beat the Ravens and Lamar Jackson is to get out ahead of them a little bit early, and try to make Lamar throw them back into the game. And as we can see, in the playoffs or in these kind of tough games against the Chiefs, if you can get up on them early, keep him flustered a little bit, and force him to throw his team back in the game, he's not going to do it. He hasn't done it yet. So, call me a Lamar hater if you want, but I've kind of always felt that way about him. And just a bummer that it burned me this time when I was, laying bets on the Ravens. But looking ahead to next week, the Patriots are going to the Chiefs. So these lines, they were up before the game, and right now I'm not seeing them up at the time of this recording. But initially, the Patriots at Chiefs. Chiefs were favored -7. And I initially liked the Patriots, before this Monday Night Football game was played. I liked the Patriots +7. The Patriots had just kind of stomped on the Raiders, have played really well so far, and the Chiefs, were kind of looking like a shell of themselves. But now after last night, and actually the early money I think was coming in on the Patriots +7. I think that line was starting to move down, but now after last night, man, the Chiefs were looking on electric, and they'll be at home instead of in Foxborough. So I don't know. I probably won't end up touching that one. And then we got the Ravens. They're going to go to Washington. And this one, we'll have to see where the line eventually settles. But I might try to grab the Ravens again because they're playing an inferior opponent. And if we've seen one thing from the Ravens is they're good at winning regular season games that don't matter that much. So, I'm expecting them to have a really good record at the end of the year. And I think this is a game where they can beat up on an inferior opponent and in Washington and, try to vent out some frustration and kind of have like a statement game kind of after the important game. So we'll see what that line looks like, but I'll be watching that as it comes out. Next up, Thursday Night Football, Broncos at Jets. So the Jets are bad. This is actually, I don't know, I like watching competitive games, right? So blowouts, like college football, loses me a lot of times because, like, if you're an Alabama fan, there's like 2-3 games that matter throughout the season, and the rest of them are blowouts. So, like, what are you watching each weekend? You're just watching your team, like, blow out, some trash like Arkansas State or something like that. I don't know. The big reason I lose it with college football is just because so many of the games are not that competitive. Meanwhile, in the NFL, there's so much parity. It's tough to win games, and any given Sunday, it's the cliche, but it's true. Like, there's rarely undefeated teams, and even good teams lose a game once in a while to a bad team. But here we got two bad teams facing off with the Broncos at the Jets. The Broncos are favored -3. And I mean, what do I have to say about the Jets? Like, they're not a good team. Darnold isn't looking hot. I'm kind of a Darnold believer, but he's just not in a position to succeed right now. And meanwhile, the Broncos, they had some issues last week against Tampa, and Jeff Driscoll actually got benched late in the game for, I don't know how to say the guy's name, Ripien? I don't know. But, Tampa Bay's defensive line is really good. They were able to stifle Melvin Gordon and obviously gave the quarterback some trouble. So I don't think the Jets are going to be able to do that the same way. So I like Melvin Gordon to get going against this Jets defense. And I don't know. We'll see when the starting quarterback gets announced for the Broncos. I think it'll probably be Driscoll, but I don't know if it matters that much to me. I mean, if Vic Fangio thinks this Ripien guy is better, that's fine. I think it'll be Driscoll. Driscoll can be scrappy, and I'd probably feel better about it if it's Driscoll. But I still like, Melvin Gordon to get going and control this game, and then with Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler, there's a lot of like young talent on that Broncos team, and I think that greatly outweighs what the Jets have going on offense. Weird situation. Both these teams pretty banged up, pretty bad, so anything can happen. But I like the Broncos to win this one and cover the 3. Next up, Steelers at Titans. So Steelers are only favored. They were favored -1. It's moved up to -1.5. This is kind of a no-brainer. I mean, if you're following me, I'm pretty hot on the Steelers. And the Titans haven't really impressed me much. Like looking back, they have a 2-point win against the Broncos, 3-point win against the Jaguars, and a 1-point win against the Vikings. Last week against the Vikings, they relied on Gostkowski to make 6 field goals. If you're sputtering out and relying on field goals against the Vikings defense, who, granted, played a lot better this week, but if that's what you're doing against the Vikings defense, the Steelers defense is going to shred you. So, I like the Steelers defense to really get on the Titans. And, the offense, I haven't seen enough from the Titans defense to think that they're gonna put up a significant fight against, Ben Roethlisberger, Juju Smith-Schuster, the other dozen wide receivers they have playing complementary roles and playing really well. Chase Claypool, I really like. I'm excited to see what he does down the rest of the year and in years ahead. But yeah, I like the Steelers to kind of stomp on the Titans. So yeah, I'm hammering that one. These are my tier 1s, by the way. So I got the Broncos -3, the Steelers, -1.5. These are tier 1 bets. My last tier 1 bet is Bills at Raiders. So I got the Bills -3, and I'm seeing kind of the early money coming in on the Raiders. So I'm not really sure what that's about. The Raiders have been kind of spotty. You know, they beat the Saints. They beat the Panthers week 1 by like 4 points in kind of a shootout. And then they beat the Saints the following week. And then they lost, in pretty not impressive fashion, I guess. I don't know, kind of got dominated by the Patriots. So I don't have a great feel for them. They've been inconsistent. But the Bills, on the other hand, I mean, there's been some close wins in there, but Josh Allen and the Bills, they've been on fire. So I don't see why you'd trust the Raiders in this one. The Raiders D has allowed 30 points every single week so far this season, and I expect the Bills to be able to do that again. So not crazy about the Raiders. Bills have been good, so I'm gonna ride the Bills on that one and trust them to cover that -3. So those are my tier 1 bets. Those are bets I feel really good about. I have some of those games, and then some of these next tier in some parlays, and some individual bets. Tier 2 bets coming up next. So these are bets that I still like, but for one reason or another, feel kind of uncomfortable with them enough where I'm not going to bet big money on them. It's not kind of as surefire. I could understand if they go the other way, which is different than my avoids, which will come out in a separate video. And those are games where I'm so uncomfortable with the teams, so undecided on which way it's going to go, that I'm just avoiding them altogether. All right, so first tier 2 bet. We got Colts at Bears. So I'm taking the Colts -3. So I might be falling for a trap here because the Colts have looked a lot better in the last 2 weeks, but they played a pretty bad Vikings team, and then they beat up on the Jets last week. So might be getting kind of fooled into a false sense of security there. But I mean, their offense is starting to roll with Jonathan Taylor, that stud offensive line. Phil Rivers doing enough through the air. Hopefully he starts shaking that rust off. I mean, he's been hitting the tight ends. Even despite losing a couple starters, Mo Alley Cox has been, a fantasy relevant tight end all of a sudden. Phil likes his tight ends, and I heard Trey Burton might be coming back. So that's kind of a lost name. He was with the Eagles, and then the Bears signed him to do something, and he didn't really live up to those expectations. But now he's with the Colts, and there was a lot of positive steam on him coming out of camp. So if he comes back and is maybe relevant, might be a sneaky ad if you're desperate at tight end in fantasy. But sorry, I got sidetracked there. But and on defense, I think their defensive line is pretty decent. They brought in DeForest Buckner, so I think the Colts are pretty solid, or should be a pretty solid team. And meanwhile, the Bears, the Bears defense can be dangerous. I heard Akeem Hicks was tearing up against the Falcons this last week, and now they got Nick Foles at quarterback. So, I don't know if anyone thinks Nick Foles is the answer. I do think he's an upgrade over Trubisky, but if Nick Foles was the answer, he wouldn't be on his 6th team in the NFL. I'm not crazy about him, but he'll probably play well enough to make them like a 7-8 team, or a 7-9, 8-8 team. So we'll see. Tomorrow or this next weekend, I definitely am taking the Colts -3, but I could understand if the Colts kind of blow it. The defense, or the Bears, I think are going to be, kind of up and down throughout the year. Jags at Bengals. So this one, we got Minshew versus Burrow, and it's pretty odd to see a winless team favored. So the Bengals right now are favored -3, so they're 0-2-1, and I think the Jags are 1-2. So strange to see like a winless team favored, but I'm gonna keep riding Joe Burrow. He's covered the spread through these couple weeks. I like him to get his first win here. And this is the weakest defense they've played yet. So we saw the Jaguars last Thursday really lay an egg on defense against the Dolphins. And I think the offense, what Joe Burrow has been doing with the Bengals is probably just as good as what the Dolphins have. And this is the weakest D they faced. So they faced the Chargers, the Browns, and the Eagles, and now they're playing the Jaguars defense. So I like Joe Burrow to be able to move the ball like he has been. Offensive line can't really protect him, but this is definitely like a weaker front that they'll be facing compared to like the Chargers or the Eagles. I don't know. Browns probably a wash. But obviously this is a tier 2 bet because Minshew and James Robinson, they're going to go down swinging. So, and DJ Chark, we'll have to keep an eye on his injury status. He'll probably be back this game. So, the Jags will probably put up a pretty good fight, but I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm going to have some fun keeping tabs on what Joe Burrow does during this kind of quarterback duel, and hopefully they can cover the 3. So then I got Browns at Cowboys. So the Cowboys are currently favored -5. Cowboys had a pretty impressive loss, I guess you can say, against the Seahawks. They were definitely able to move the ball. Dak Prescott is in that offense, has been really good. They got good wide receivers. Zeke's still there. Meanwhile, the Browns D isn't very good. The Browns have played some pretty bad teams so far. I don't think I wrote them down, but they beat up on Washington last week. Not that impressed. The Browns, it's possible that the Browns two-headed attack with Chubb and Kareem Hunt are able to kind of grind out clock and control this game. But I think they're going to have to do more in the passing game against the Cowboys to keep up in the point scoring. They're going to have to convert some tough third downs. And so far, Baker, and Odell and Landry and Njoku's hurt. I don't even know who their tight end is right now. I just think they're going to have to convert some third downs, and they haven't really shown that they can do that, against a good team. So I like the Cowboys in this one. Hopefully they can cover the -4.5. So that's the side I'm taking. And then last up, I guess, for my tier 2 bets is the Falcons at Packers. Packers -7. The Falcons, they won't have. I don't think they're going to have a chance to blow this game. I think the Packers are going to jump out and they've been pretty methodical and confident this season in the times that I've watched them, where especially with the lack of crowd noise, Matt LaFleur and Rodgers are able to really cue in on what's going on the other side of the ball and pick the exact play that they want and get organized, and they just look like they're really taking advantage of the situation of this COVID season. So I look for them to continue to do that against a Falcons defense that's not very good. Is only a tier 2 because the Falcons have proven that they can score some points. They're gonna be able to score some points. Julio Jones might be back, and their offense, their passing offense at least with Matty Ice can be dangerous. But I still like the Packers to stomp on them, and -7 is the tricky part. I think the Packers will do it. So Packers -7 is what I got there. Then 2 other games I'm watching. The Cardinals at the Panthers. Right now the Cardinals are favored -3.5, and I think this opened at -4, but I could be wrong. I need to research these teams a little bit more. Not gonna lie, I haven't watched a minute of Panthers football so far this season, and the Cardinals is not a team I typically watch. So I'm gonna take a look into this. Just from afar, the Panthers I don't think are particularly good, and I think the Cardinals can bounce back and cover that -3.5. But I'm gonna have to do a little more research. I'll probably talk myself into that one as the week goes on. Then the other game is Eagles at 49ers. The 49ers are favored -6.5. The Eagles, not a very good team, still banged up on, they have no one to catch the ball. Dallas Goedert, I think, has a high ankle sprain. I don't know if we won't know that till the injury reports start to come out, but not expecting him to play. So the Eagles they're in dire straits right now. And the 49ers D-line, I don't know how many starters they got left, but they've still been playing really good football. So, and the other angle is, Nick Mullins is good. Nick Mullins can throw the ball. And despite that, Jimmy G, George Kittle, Mostert are all potentially, back on board, could play this weekend. And Deebo Samuel is eligible to come off IR. And I saw some tweets that looks like he's probably going to suit up and play. So the reinforcements are kind of on the way for 49ers. So I'll be watching that game, watching those injury reports, practice reports as they come out this week. And yeah, probably will talk myself into the 49ers minus 6.5 before the week's out. Yeah, so if you follow me on Twitter at favoritefade.com, you would have saw some of the commentary on that Eagles 49ers game. It's a good. I'm trying to tweet more, trying to, not going to annoy you guys if you follow me, but if you want to see, kind of what I'm thinking, more up to date kind of updates and thoughts as the week goes on, whether I change my mind about different things, that's a good place to do it. Also, I'm just trying here. We're just having fun with some sports bettings. I think I'm about even through weeks 2 and 3. I was about even going into Monday Night Football, and then the Ravens lost. So now I'm down, one bet. But we're looking to bounce back next week. But if you think I'm an idiot, tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. Otherwise, thanks.